a lot of investors and founders fall into. They jump into industries that look hot on the surface. Fast growth, high demand, everyone's talking about it. And then they're shocked to discover it's actually one of the hardest places to make money. Why can an industry that looks so attractive on the surface turn out to be a profit trap? The answer isn't about market size. It comes down to something almost nobody bothers to analyze carefully before jumping in: the competitive structure of that industry itself. Today, we're learning to look at an industry the way Michael Porter, the father of modern competitive strategy, has taught the business world to see it for more than 40 years. Competitive Strategy was published in 1980 by Michael Porter, a professor at Harvard Business School. Before this book, business strategy was largely a matter of experience, gut instinct, or scattered case studies. There was no systematic framework to work from. What Porter did was take industrial organization economics, until then mostly used to study markets at a macro level, and apply it directly at the level of the individual firm. He turned a vague question like, "How do we compete better?" into a repeatable analytical process. This book, together with Competitive Advantage 5 years later, laid the foundation for the entire modern strategy consulting industry. Firms from McKinsey to BCG built their analytical toolkits on top of Porter's thinking. 1. The Five Forces Model. This is Porter's most famous tool. Instead of just looking at your direct competitors, he showed that an industry's overall profitability is shaped by 5 forces acting at once. 1. Rivalry among existing competitors in the industry. 2. The threat of new entrants, anyone who could jump into the industry if the barriers are low enough. 3. The bargaining power of suppliers. 4. The bargaining power of buyers. And 5. The threat of substitute products or services. Picture 5 arrows converging from 5 directions onto the center, where your business sits. An industry where all 5 forces are weak tends to have thick margins. An industry where even 1 or 2 forces are extremely strong will see industry-wide profits get squeezed, no matter how good any individual company is. Compare 2 types of industries. One with low barriers to entry, anyone can jump in, plus buyers who have plenty of substitute options, which keeps pushing prices down and leaves margins thin even when demand is huge. Contrast that with an industry with high barriers to entry, heavy capital requirements, specialized technology, or hard-to-get licenses, which limits the number of players and keeps industry-wide margins much healthier, even with a smaller overall market. Before asking, "How do I win in this industry?" ask, "Is this industry even worth competing in?" And the 5 forces framework is exactly the tool that answers that question. 2. The 3 generic competitive strategies. Once you understand the industry's structure, the next question is, how should you actually compete? Porter lays out 3 basic paths. The first is cost leadership, becoming the lowest cost producer or operator in the industry, so you can price competitively while still turning a profit. The second is differentiation, creating unique value that customers are willing to pay a premium for, even if you're not the cheapest option. The third is focus, picking a narrow market segment and serving it better than anyone else, whether through low cost or differentiation within that specific segment. The strongest warning Porter gives is against getting stuck in the middle. This is when a company tries to be both cheap and premium, both mass market and niche, without ever committing to one clear path. The usual result: not cheap enough to win on price, and not distinctive enough to hold on to premium customers. Losing on both fronts at once. One domestic airline commits fully to cost leadership, point-to-point routes instead of hub connections, a single aircraft type to simplify maintenance, no free meal service, and extremely fast turnaround times to maximize flight frequency. Every operational decision serves one single goal: the lowest cost in the industry. Meanwhile, another airline from the same era tries to compete on cheap fares while also maintaining a complex hub network, business class service, and multiple aircraft types. The result is bloated operating costs without ever being premium enough to attract high-end travelers. Strategy, according to Porter, isn't about doing everything better than your competitors. It's about committing decisively to one path and being willing to say no to opportunities that don't belong on that path.
3. The value chain and sustainable competitive advantage. This idea is more subtle, but critically important. Real, sustainable competitive advantage doesn't come from being excellent at any single activity. It comes from how an entire chain of activities, design, production, marketing, sales, after-sales service, fits together into one consistent system that's hard to copy piece by piece. A competitor can copy a single activity, a marketing campaign, a production process. But it's very hard to copy an entire system of dozens of interlocking activities, all designed to serve one consistent strategy. Picture a modern circus company that uses no animals, has no single headline star, yet charges far more for a ticket than traditional circuses do. That's only possible because every activity, stage design, original music, choreography, brand building, is deliberately built to work together and deliver a high-end artistic experience. Instead of mass-market entertainment, a competitor who wanted to copy this wouldn't just be copying one element, they'd have to copy the entire system. A competitor can learn what you do after a single site visit, but why everything you do fits together? That's what creates the hardest advantage to copy. To see all three ideas working together, look back at the U.S. domestic airline market during a period of brutal fare competition. One player committed fully to cost leadership, simplifying the entire operating model. From a uniform fleet to ultra-fast turnaround times, every activity in the value chain served one single strategy. The result was consistent profitability sustained over many years, even when the rest of the industry struggled. The other side, many traditional carriers from the same era tried to compete by cutting fares to defend market share, while still maintaining a complex hub network, business-class service, and a mixed fleet. Operating costs stacked up, while fares were forced down to stay competitive, a textbook case of the stuck-in-the-middle trap Porter warned about. Through the lens of the five forces, this is also an industry with extremely high internal rivalry, buyers who hold significant power, easy to compare prices across many channels, and high exit barriers. Aircraft are expensive assets, hard to liquidate quickly, which makes committing to one clear strategy even more critical than in almost any other industry. So how can you actually apply this thinking? First, before entering or expanding into a new industry, try sketching out a quick five forces analysis. Who are the existing competitors, and how intense is the rivalry? Are entry barriers low? Could someone else jump in easily? Do suppliers or buyers hold the bargaining power? Are there substitute products quietly threatening the whole category? If most of your answers come back unfavorable, that industry might look attractive in size, but actually be a profit trap. Second, ask yourself honestly, am I competing on the lowest cost, on clear differentiation, or am I stuck in the middle without realizing it? If you can't answer that in one clear sentence, your business might be sitting exactly in the danger zone Porter warned about. Third, don't just look for one activity to differentiate on. Look at how your activities fit together as a system. A great product feature can be copied within months. A consistent operating system built to serve one strategy is far harder to replicate. The three biggest lessons from competitive strategy. Before asking how to win, use the five forces to ask whether the industry is even worth competing in. Commit decisively to one of the three generic strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, or focus, and avoid getting stuck in the middle. Sustainable competitive advantage comes from how an entire chain of activities fits together, not from any single strong point. There's a line closely associated with Porter's thinking that sums up the whole philosophy of this book. Strategy isn't just about deciding what to do, it's equally about deciding what not to do. Next episode, we're meeting a way of thinking that's almost the opposite of Porter's. Instead of analyzing and competing within an existing industry, Blue Ocean Strategy by Kim and Malborn shows how to create an entirely new market where competition barely matters. Is the industry you're in or considering entering one that's worth competing in? Or is it a profit trap in disguise? Let us know in the comments.